Hey people, it's Ed Midsole Bud here. Today I'm examining my top race shoes across the 4 popular race distances: the 5k, 10k, half marathon and the full Snickers. What would be my go-to race shoes for each distance? Let's take a butcher's. Thanks for joining me on the channel. Do smash that subscribe button, tinkle the bell, and also give this video a thumbs up like. Comment below as well to help with the algorithm. Dankeschön. Today I'm looking at my top race shoes for each popular distance. Over here in the UK it's 5k, 10k, half marathon and the full Snickers, the marathon. I noticed a lot of people race 10-mile events in the US. I'm not sure what that's all about. May as well just do another 3 miles and take it up to the half marathon, eh? We'll kick it off with the 5k distance first. It's like a punishing blast, you know, you're going to be at all-out effort really on the 5k. Personally for me, I want something as light as possible for this distance. I don't really need too many bells and whistles. I would suspect for a 5k race, in the main you're going to be on road or pavement. Otherwise, maybe you're doing a park run or something. If you're running on grass, then it's always going to be a little bit tougher. For the 5k distance, I think the TAKUMI Sen 10 is actually a really good bet. Super light, super nimble. The fit is like a glove. And this perhaps is a little bit less midsole to squash into. You want a bit more responsiveness for the 5k. You want to keep the cadence fast, quick turnover, and obviously are less worried about stack and compression. Grip on these is on point, and there's some pop from the energy rods. Can't quite hear them today. I find these really propel you forward, and they're really great going around corners too. I think that's down to the traction from the Continental. I think another option for me for the 5k has got to be the STREAKFLY. This is sort of the other end of the spectrum, very squashy, very little snap though from the shank that's in this one. Nowhere near as rigid, and I think people will quite enjoy using this on the track actually. I don't think anybody needs masses of cushion for a 5k event. It's all about minimising the weight for me, and if I was going to go all out on one of those, the STREAKFLY is certainly worth it. It's going to provide a reasonable amount of compression and cushion there. It's always going to be tough going at that distance, so you just want the lightest shoe you can get. People forget about this one as well, the Liberate Nitro 2 from PUMA. Again, this one's super light, loads of fantastic traction from that PUMA grip, and you can pick these up for a steal as well. So I think that's my top ones for a 5k if you're going all out. Just go for the lightest thing you can find. Moving on to 10k now. I think we're going for a little bit more cushion on the 10k, but you don't really need stacks of it still. I always found the ASICS METASPEED Sky Plus was a banger for this. Still, with lots of slightly denser cushion here and lots of rebound and return. But the shoe's profile just keeps out of the way of my ankle. It means I've got lots of range of motion there, lots of flexibility, and top-notch rubber on the outsole of all of those ASICS METASPEED shoes. There's no need for a super heel width here. It's quite a narrow shoe, but that does seem to work for me. Of course, we got the METASPEED Sky Paris now. That one's kind of eclipsed the METASPEED Sky Plus. I mean, this one's hovering around just over 200 grams for me in my UK size 11. It's got an even thinner, even more breathable upper than its predecessor, and it makes for one of the best shoes around in terms of the optimum balance between cushion and responsiveness. I think I'd also give the TAKUMI Sen 10 another shout for the 10k. It's a tried and tested design here from the Sen. Super fast turnover and great grip once again. Now, I know this one's aimed really as a marathon shoe, but I am finding the very aggressive ride that you get in the PUMA Farstar Nitro Elite 2 to be really, really great at 10k. I think it's something to do with that extended plate here and the forefoot section of the shoe. Just really seems to provide a nice wide landing platform. Just gets you up onto your toes a little bit more and you're just flying forward. I also love the upper as well. It's mega breathable and again like a glove on foot. It doesn't seem to take in much moisture as well, which is a real boon when you're talking about racing in the UK. The weather can be very variable here. You never know quite what's on the cards when you live in England. Another shoe I'd like to give a go on a fast 10k would be the On Cloudboom Echo 3. That's once again down to the very narrow width I've got here in the heel, a little bit more width up front, but also the profile of the upper on the shoe. It just stays out of the way, doesn't sort of influence flexibility in my ankle at all. This one's one of those slightly more denser rebound like shoes for me. It doesn't sort of squash and disappear like the Vaporfly. It's a little bit more resilient variance to it, and I think you'll get a bit more response out of it, which is probably what you want when you run those faster effort levels. Certainly a very different shoe to that PUMA Fastar Nitro Elite 2. Not quite as squashy in the heel. I think that would make it a little bit more rigid and a little bit more up for it for the 10K. Minimal rubber and very thin upper materials here, and a really great solid lockdown is offered by those silicon beaded laces that On are using. So a bit of a surprise shoe there for the 10K torture test. Okay, we're moving on to the half Snickers now, the half marathon. Now you will know, if you're a regular viewer, my 10K and half marathon personal bests recently are in that ASICS METASPEED Sky Paris. Cornering and the grip on these is immense. I absolutely love that sort of net-like rubber mesh we got on the bottom here. I think it's easily the best race shoe that ASICS have ever produced. Maybe the best shoe that ASICS have ever made. How they've managed to achieve this, I don't know. It's so light. I actually thought that the box was empty when they arrived. And I think at $220 it's a slightly easier to stomach price than some of the other wildly priced super shoes that we've got right now. I think the only disappointment really is in the slight confusion that there is amongst runners about the Sky Paris and the Edge Paris. I'm yet to try out the Edge. I hope to be able to do that in the very near future. Perhaps people just don't know which one might be best for them. I can't see that any shoe's going to be better than this one for me. Certainly half marathon, it is an absolute banger. So many runners and viewers on the channel tell me that they have great results at the half marathon distance in the Vaporfly 3. Now, my previous half marathon personal best was in the Vaporfly Next Percent 2. That was a really reliable shoe for me over that distance. Certainly lowering the effort level, a good bouncy combination there. Good comfort, good propulsion too. Though I was always left wanting in terms of the outsole, it just didn't seem quite that good. That foamy rubber stuff that was there, it wasn't the most durable. I think the Vaporfly 3 does deliver that with a much better rubber outsole here. Durability's improved, it's just enhanced all round really. Certainly the best longevity of any Vaporfly shoe so far. I think perhaps not my ideal choice for the full marathon, but certainly the half marathon, the Vaporfly 3 is still right up there. Just perhaps hasn't got the fireworks that the original had. I think some of the other super shoes I've been catching it up over the last few years. Another shoe where I got very close to my personal best in the half marathon was in the PUMA DEVIATE Nitro Elite 2. I ran a top time in the Manchester half marathon back in October of 2023 in this shoe. Well, not exactly this pair, but a pair of them. Another one that just stays out of the way in terms of my form. Super light, very accommodating. There's just not too much upper hanging around there. It's only in places where it really needs to be. It's quite an exciting, engaging ride where you really feel like you're in control over what's going on. Just really stays consistent over the miles. An underrated shoe, and I hope with the imminent release of the DEVIATE Nitro Elite 3 that a few more people will actually go and try out the PUMA brand. They produce some excellent shoes with a really great balance between sort of cushion and propulsion. So that'll be my last selection for the half marathon distance. Marathon shoes now. I get asked about this one perhaps more than any other question across the channel. Everybody wants to know what I think is perhaps the best marathon shoe out there. Now, I will be attending the Manchester Marathon in 2025. It's like over a year away. Loads of you have already said you have put yourself in for that one, so I hope to see lots of people there at the start line and the finish line, of course. I think it's never easy trying to shoehorn in marathon training when you've got like family, work, all sorts of other responsibilities. I mean, I'd love to run the Berlin Marathon too, but getting into those top tier events is practically impossible, unless of course you're Sir Jim Ratcliffe, who seems to be able to run London Marathon whenever he likes. I think it's something like 7 times now. Money talks, eh? The top cat right now, if I was going to run a marathon tomorrow, it would have to be the ALPHAFLY 3. Superb cushioning here and a very aggressive sort of ride, especially in that forefoot. Lets me up my cadence and really increase the stride length. Rolls along nicely and just seems to leave me prepared, you know, after those long runs. I'm not aching, I've got no pains. and I found that my other pair of these were supremely consistent. I think everybody would be pleased for the extra cushion as well that ZoomX offers you. Perhaps when you get into that sort of 20+ mile zone in the marathon, many other foams just seem to bottom out, but ZoomX just seems to hang in there, and that's what you got to do at the end of a marathon, right? Almost seems to improve actually the more and more you use the shoe as the miles rack up. I think it's certainly the ultimate for marathon racing right now, and you can also use it in training too to assist you to keep the consistency. I just hope you don't get a blown out AirPod. Now the SAUCONY Endorphin Elite is another shoe that seems to fit into that special category that just feels better at that sort of marathon pace for me. Max cushion, but in the lightest package that there is possible. Obviously a super minimal, very breathable upper on this one as well, though I think the Endorphin Pro 4 might be a slightly better marathon shoe for me. Perhaps this one dropping into that half marathon category just makes me run a little bit too fast. Actually, this one, I think that one could just end up with me hitting the wall, and that's never what I want to do. I always want to finish a race. I think the Endorphin Pro 4 just fits the mold a little better. The rubber outsole now massively improved over the 3, and the upper's just a little bit more refined here. I haven't got lots of bunching around the tongue area of the shoe. There's not too much material flapping around my foot. I think they've refined this model very subtly over time. The V3 and V4 have just continually got better. It's like the pinnacle of the model so far. I did try the Pro 4 at a 10k race, but I found that it's that sort of rolling marathon effort that I want, and the Pro 4 just seems to fit with that perfectly. Just a more steady consistency here, rather than the sort of longer stride way that I would attack a 10k race, for example. You got less worry about economy there and just getting the race done as fast as you can, whereas with the marathon I think you'd probably want to economize the energy, and the Pro 4 just seems to fit that better. Last one from me in terms of marathon effort would have to be the wild card here, the Hoka Rocket X2. It's always been a shoe that seems to fit with that marathon effort rather than anything faster. I think that's down to that softer PUMA foam that they've used within the midsole of the Rocket X2. Sometimes a super squashy softness in the midsole is just a hindrance sometimes if you want to run at very fast paces. This one absolutely sings for me at marathon effort, and I think all of those recent Hoka shoes really seem to sort of lend themselves to training at that effort, or at least racing in that effort too. So this one's definitely worth a mention on my best of marathon shoes list. Okay, that's all of my selections from the 5k right through to the full marathon. Do you find that certain shoes hit the spot for certain sort of effort levels, or does the high-tech Silver Shadow simply cover all bases? Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. Remember, these are all based on my experiences utilising all these shoes. I've only included stuff that I've actually tried out. I can't really talk about other shoes that I haven't actually tried on foot, because that would just be weird, wouldn't it? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments there. Very quick musical interlude for you. You guys will know that I'm into some drum and bass and jungle. Always great to put on some of that stuff. Perhaps if you're on the treadmill and you've got to smash through a session, you need something that's going to keep the cadence nice and high and sort of elevate the testosterone levels. The Beginning by Moving Fusion. I remember when I found this track for the first time, especially if you've got some headphones with considerable bass, it turns you into this absolute madman who's gonna, absolutely trash the treadmill. Starts off with these weird atmospheric sounds, a few hi-hats. I think they always put those in just so the DJs can mix the incoming track into the outgoing one. The track's just completely incessant once the beats start up. Very polished, very punchy sort of drums, very distorted bass here. It sounds like it's been completely put through the ringer. It's kind of like Rod Stewart ate a load of 808 kick drums. That's what it sounds like. They start introducing some filtering later on and start sort of doubling up the drums too. It's an absolute winner when it comes to running on the treadmill. Perhaps if you're doing one of those sessions where you've got some faster pace sections within the run, I think The Beginning by Moving Fusion could really hit the spot. Thanks for tuning in, people. Hope you enjoyed today's video. If you're running Manchester Marathon or doing any races in the sort of coming weeks and months, let me know down in the comments. Hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up like. Also comment for the algorithm too. My name's Eddbud and I'll be seeing you